Hello YouTube, Infinite Magicraid community, Gandalf here, bringing you a review and analysis on the new Mythic hero from the Hidden Waves, Nereid. Um, in general, I would say that she's a solid wave clearer. She has some potential in terms of AoE wave control. She brings in a very high damage amplification potential if you're running a heavy dot team. I think this is the hero that many people are waiting for that will potentially help you clear higher level content. And in a way that if we think about how Lydia increases skill and skill damage, well, that's only to the description of the skills. It doesn't actually increase the damage the boss takes on their turn. Well, here is the hero that will actually do both. So this is now a hero that will increase the damage the boss takes for both dot and for skill damage. So this is quite significant, and we will be able to, go into detail today about, how big are these multipliers and, what we could potentially see now in the damage amplification field. I think if you're able to survive the boss's onslaught with Nereid, your damage could potentially, you know, double or even maybe, 2 point, maybe by a little bit more than double, maybe 2.5 times, maybe anywhere between that because the amount of damage she also bring to the table. Moreover, she brings in the cold and the wet debuff to the enemy, allowing you to help with survivability. So from a PvE perspective, I would definitely rate her very high. We'll also explore her PvP potential and maybe come up with some potential PvP applications near the end of this video. But if you're impatient, I did content mark bookmark the different sections so you could go explore them and jump right ahead in the video. So without further ado, let's go into her skills. Okay, and I'm going to be explaining the skills and how they interact with exclusives as well. Straight off the bat, her ultimate basically puts in wave ocean status, so she's in a special status now, which will interact with other hidden wave heroes. The damage, there's a physical damage component, and then there is a HP portion. Against boss, this does 30% more than the typical HP burn dots, but um, on waves, it's going to be a lot less, especially against tanky trash mob that we see in higher level dungeons and we see in, say, um, in the latest content right now in the Broken Land. So she's going to have a little bit more trouble clearing high level. She's not going to do as much as your regular HP burn heroes in that aspect. However, she will definitely amplify the damage your HP burn heroes will be doing. So in that role, she'll be playing more support, but against weaker trash mobs, she's going to be able to easily smack them down, clear them very quickly. Her and when you have exclusive one, what happens really is you can basically use the skill back to back. You can use skill ultimate into the second skill, then back into the ultimate in consecutive session because the first time you cast it is going to be reduced by 2 turns. This also helps her cycle her skills a lot more, and I'll show that briefly after we go over the skills. Um, Her other active skill causes the target to be confused, and if she's in Wave of Ocean, which you kind of want to open with, now you can have a chance to have both confused and suffocate. So confused gets a chance where the target will be, casting a spell, go to the other skill, or if it's casted, it's, increasing their cooldown, and suffocate prevents them from launching basic attack, counterattacks, and pursuits. So it's quite useful against some of the trash mob that might be able to counterattack. Um, and once you have exclusive 3, it allows you to trigger the HP burn status drowned um, as well. Now she has a lot of skill revolving around drowned. For example, um, she exclusive to now she doesn't really rely on effective hit, and you can actually land confused and suffocate. So we're going to test that in a bit to see if that goes, for example, through Panda. Pandas, can we go through, effective res? That could be very impactful. So we'll be testing that. And when the target now has, two or more of these, there's a 25% chance of failing if active, if just not casting skills, which could be very impactful, if the RNG is on your side. Um, and finally, there's a little bit niche. So if the enemy is taking a lot of extra turns, so for example, using Catherine, whatnot, you can easily cut in between by taking an additional 30% turn meter. So the one enemy takes double turns, this is really helpful. So for example, even Nizel, right? Nizel technically is taking 2 turns at the beginning. So you will be able to get that. So we'll do some of that testing at the end of the video when we start evaluating her PvP potential. The most of the thing, maybe first we'll show then, now that we've gone through her skills, is show her skill rotation. So usually what you'll see is a skill 2, ultimate, you will be down to 1, then lethal tornado triggering it. Now you get to trigger the remaining of that. So you see 3 damages from HP burn. You'll do 1 auto attack while it's in wave, so you can actually land both. Now both, so when she's not, when she's not in the way of ocean attack, it's just some 4 hits of her HP based direct damage. But if she's under ocean, she can actually now inflict white or cold, and she can inflict both, and she does some extra damage based off her HP, which will scale as HP burns. So you want her in that ocean wave status as often as possible, but there are some cooldowns in between. So you see now after this one, I think she loses it. So you attack one more time, but now you can see you cycle back to your ultimate again. So it's 1 turn, it's in there, then 2, 3 with an auto, now with a scale down. This time you missed it. 4, and then it's 5. So basically about 5 turn cycle in terms of her skills. Only 1 gap period when she's out of the wave of ocean status. She's in it most of the time. So if you have counterattack with her, so for example, pairing her with Catherine, you will be able to reduce the boss's direct and basic damage. And this is scaling multiplicatively. So it works really well now. If we think about a really good team for bossing, I'm just going to show you right now what that might look like. So now if you think about your boss team, like you might not, I mean, I think Santa is still nice to have, but does that mean you still need Nordak? That's a good question, right? But let's just, pair up you could run your standard uh, team like so, and you bring like a Jack for that, and you could potentially at E3 Jack do a lot of damage with wave clearing. This could be a very safe team for you to push. Um, where's Santa? To push very high content. I think from a survivability standpoint, Nereid is going to bring that additional 40% damage reduction to basic skills and skills, basic attacks and skills from the boss. Then you got the 40% attack down from Jack. So, this is a very solid lineup. Probably, you can probably drop on Nordak for another damage dealer, or, if you feel like she can bring in the control capabilities that you need. And round 1, if you start off with something like a Nordak, and then you could probably bring in something like Lydia, or even to get that additional damage amplification. So these are very good choices for PvE teams. So now we understand her skill rotation, her what she brings to that. So she has quite a bit of damage mitigation. Let's explore her damage amplification capabilities. So what we will see is, even though it's not described here, I'm not gonna take through this boring part in the video. I painstakingly try the number of buffs here because the additional buffs will increase the damage taken. So at one, so immediately while she's alive, right? So right now, if I bring any other hero and they do direct damage, they're going to be taking, the enemy is going to be taking 16% additional damage. But then for every additional debuff, the 16, so here's the 4 plus the 12, so that's why we're at 16. You're going to get 2.93. Okay, this is a very weird number, but the reason why it's 2.93 is just so that exactly, or near exactly, when you have 15 debuffs, so if you have 10 stacks of poison, that counts as actually 10 debuffs. You need a total of 15 debuff to cap it out at 60% bonus damage. Now, what's really cool is that now if the enemy target has drowned, this increases to 90%. So imagine that you're doing 90% more additional damage to the boss. This is far more than, Lydia giving you the 30% additional skill damage output. But again, Lydia is more than just skill damage. Lydia is also about cooldown reduction, which is super important. Um, and also the attack up buff. And the turn meter reduction. But here Nereid brings something a little bit different. So Nereid brings way more damage amplification, provided you're getting max, stacks on the boss with your dots. So at this point, it seems like really good to bring a bleed plus HP burn. Otherwise, you're not gonna get to that. So you need either bleed or poison mixed in there with, Jack. Maybe you don't need to bring a Jack anymore because see she also reduces with wet 2 or cold 2. So this really I think in a free to play world I just realized is we're really, and I think the devs said this earlier, is as they release new heroes, they're going to think about ways where you might not actually need limited heroes anymore. If we think about, again, let's try to build a very free to play friendly team. I mean, they're about to give us a Santa, so let's just say Santa is included in here. But even if we don't include Santa, something like like a team like this. Where's my Mamook, right? Then here in the last slot, you can put in a Hazanja, you can put in a Nidroid, you can put in a Nita. Like this would be great. Like you're getting tons of debuffs on the enemy. I think you can get to a total of 15. Attack down, um, you have block res, you have the poison 2, and then you also have the tenacity. Is the tenacity down or it's like the enfeeble? I think enfeeble from Catherine. So that's plus the code and wet you can apply. That's way more than 15. So you can fully benefit and get that 90% additional damage from a team like that. So you can really run a full team, and that would have been a really strong PvE team to clear your dungeon content without having to get limited heroes, right? And I think the devs are living into their worlds, and this is something we're very excited to see. So from a damage, so remember what I said, you need a total, and this is really key. You need a total of 15 debuffs on the enemy to fully um, benefit her from her passive. So on a boss, yeah, you really need to think about bleeds or poison now. Your burn type damage is nice, but you're not going to be able to benefit from nid, from her passive fully, and it does rack up a whole bunch, right? Like, so really, you know, that's like the difference of doing 2,000 poison, 20,000 poison damage to tick 2 versus 3,800, so 38,000. So that's very massive in terms of the amplification of the damage there. So, and this applies to direct damage and dot damage, all the damage the enemy is taking. So very, very impactful. So now let's go really into the PvP side of things. and let's see if we're able to get the enemy to behave in certain ways. So first one we're thinking about is can we, for example, get the suffocate through the effector res, right? So I think what we know here is if she is, um, so we know if she is alive, if she's under the wave of ocean status, the enemy will not have a chance. But when she's alive, suffocate by allies cannot be confused or cleansed. So let's see if that's true. So this means this should be able to go through. That was nice. So that means if we were actually in, we could have suffocated if we had another turn. Hold on. So now the enemy's taking a little bit less damage. Did we literally take almost no damage from that? What happened? Okay, so we'll wait one more turn. And okay, now the holy shelter is up. So we're going to do this one more time. And what we'll see is now we should be able to get both of the debuff, suffocate, and that's weird. So that's really strange because see, so now the enemy can't, use the base is able to launch basic attacks, which is really useful for things like against teams like Lucifer, right? And you can use that on turn. But what I find is strange is why we didn't land confused as well, because in theory, for skill 2 is cannot be block or. Oh, okay, sorry, this is the 25%. Okay, sorry, my bad. That is the 25% is Kanabi is just a raw 25% on the chance of not landing the not not getting the skill casted if we have two of them. So now Nordak actually at that moment had 25% chance of not casting his spell. So I mean we'll do that. Um, Now why was I healing? Oh, does she heal? Why is she healing? Oh, I think it might be just, my. Yeah, I think it's just from my sanctuary. That may be what's the reason. Okay, so let's go into the status first. And then this time with 500% effective res, or really high effective res, we should be able to land. Darn it. That wasn't supposed to happen because, and I think Nordak failed to cast a spell. Hold on, let's try that again. We'll go faster this time. So immunity 1. And then next time we're going to be able to land both. And we're going to make sure we got very high effective hit for that. We should be able to land both. Yep, we landed both. And then now the enemy would not have a 25% chance of not casting this spell. So if there's some way for you to get a double turn of her up front, um, this could be very impactful from a PvP perspective because stuff we really hate is like the enemy having, Marvel or Panda and all of that. Well, now all of a sudden, the Panda, whatnot, and I think it cannot be cleansed, right? Let's just check. Was there something that says that cannot be cleansed? Cannot be blocked or cleansed. Yeah. So let's give that a try. So what will happen here now is the enemy will, so we'll put this in. We'll give them a Panda 2. And Panda, and let's also give them a Catherine too. Just whoops. Oh no, sorry about that. We give the enemy team their Catherines, and give them their panda. And then when we edit our skill attributes, we'll make sure we have very high effective hit. The enemy will have a panda that has high enough resistance. Okay, but I'm just going to go right through that. Right, and now all of a sudden, I'm going to be able to lethal. And see that? Isn't that beautiful? No counterattack coming through at all, right? But what also happened was really strange there. The panda did get quite a few extra turns there. How fast is panda? Yeah, okay, so panda got a lot. So let's just try that one more time and see what happens. So we're able to land. Oh, why didn't it? That wasn't supposed to happen. That wasn't supposed to happen. Why didn't it land on the panda? Oh, right, because Panda has a 100% effective res. So this is kind of interesting wording and how, one mechanic is other stronger than the other, right? Because Panda cannot actually be affected by any control effects. So that's why, we're not able to land these two. But for everybody else, though, um, yeah, this is really helpful, right? So all the counterattacks from Lydia shouldn't be happening, right? Lucifer's joint attacks from Ben Austin, right? Here, let's just put all these enemies in the lineup there. We'll give them a Lydia, we'll give them a Ben Austin. Let's test some of these mechanics out. But what I need to do is probably give myself full HP and really fast speed so I can actually survive and not die. Please don't die. Let's give ourselves just a little bit more HP. But I'm also afraid if I have too much HP, I'm going to end up killing them. Okay. That's really, really annoying. Maybe I'll edit attribute in here. And we'll try that. Confirm, restart with current settings. Okay, now let's see what happens, right? So everybody has a whole bunch of stuff. But what we wish to see, okay, well, that's the problem is to get into the ocean status, you're going to be doing that first, but try again. But if you want to land, yeah, that's the challenge, right? How do you get her into the ocean status? She has to kind of go first, which is the downside of this whole problem. It's like you gotta cast this AoE first. So, but you could, with a new skill set, she could be landing a set of confused on everybody, which doesn't do much, right? So what is the verdict here? I think for her to work really well, it's more in a more drawn out battle, right? So, for example, if you can start off with if you can, here, let's do that one more time. This time, so let's just, you know, your team. So the way you might want to set up a team for PvP is you want to think about how you can kind of survive first turn, and she will be really helpful in more of a sustain, drawn out kind of fight. And you want to leverage debuffs in there too. So maybe something like, no, maybe, right? The idea is maybe you want some survivability. So, I mean, something with survivability that can remove buffs. So Mammut comes to mind because you can get rid of their buffs so that Lucia can do the damage. You bring your Nereid, and then you have find some way to help you go first. I don't know. Let's just put in everyone's favorite new you know turn meter reduction hero here, and then, you get some extra buffs out of it, right? So let's face the the formidable Lydia teams out there. Let's go with the tanky variation of the Lydia composition that we see very often. So maybe, I don't know. Let's throw that in there. Or sorry, let's just throw in let's just do the super tanky version, right? Let's do something like this. Okay. So maybe with something like that, you're now able to go first. Uh, okay, let's just pretend, we didn't have that opportunity here. And we're just going to taunt. And now we're in mermaid status. Okay, relatively saying, our scale base. So now you see the enemy has all of these debuffs, right? And we're still, how did she even get frozen? I don't understand why she got frozen, but anyways. Okay, let's pretend that didn't happen. So we get so now, you got the enemy all suffocated and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's still highly questionable in terms of her PvP usability because really there's a couple things that's really holding her back from a PvP setting. One is she has no mechanism of being able to go first. Um, you could try to make her work with like a Bisodin or something that boosts her turn, then, give her another turn right away. Because, just building a whole bunch of speed on her to have her go early just makes absolutely no sense. From a turn meter boosting, like they usually work a lot better with your other cleavers. She really needs to go almost 3 turns back to back to really benefit. So you need to go first with her. You need to use her skill 3 into skill 2, then into skill 3 again. So to be able to do something like that, um, it's quite difficult. Like, I mean, I can demonstrate maybe some sort of team that might be able to work. Um, Here we'll give that a try. So I'll give you an example of something that might work. So let's try something like this. Into a Rian. And we just got to make sure all these are in the right turn order. Then, you can use other heroes with the likes of, and this is where, you can use some, less known heroes, but also do the same thing. So for example, here, Ross is a hero that fulfills this need. You have heroes like Cthulhu that fills this need. Right? But again, okay, so we already get to go first. So 1, we get her to go again. We need her skill 2, and then we make her go a third time. And that should be able to kill everyone, right? Almost. I think they're gonna just die on this turn because now, yeah, they taken the additional drown. Santa for some reason managed to resist the drown. That's why Santa's still alive. Otherwise, it would have been over. But that's the level of setup you kind of need to make work to make things work with her, right? And here, just for reference, right? I mean, we're using the default scaling, so everybody's relatively lower HP. But since it's HP scaling and they're relative to the same HP to the enemy, so this will work. But again, remember, this is in trials, which means PvP damage mitigation 40% is not applied. So, you go through all this trouble to give her 3 consecutive turns. You still need to boost her HP or something with another 40% to increase her damage. So she's able to actually, you know, to kill the enemy. Now, note the fact that here, I think her mastery was set at 81%. You could probably get her to, 150. So that's almost, you know, that's another 40% damage. So yeah, so if there are some way, in some team where she can go twice after her and you can survive turn one with her, I suppose you could use her in PvP and the nuking potential in theory is there to be able to, wipe out the enemy. I think in terms of suffocation and confused, I think it could mess the enemy up. But again, you still require her to take 2 consecutive turns to be able to land, suffocate, and 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 confused. So that's a lot of work, and a lot of time, even if you switch the main target of big AOE's, you're still not stopping it. So it's not the reliable CC. So you might as well go for 2 subsequent full turn, give the hero another turn kind of mechanism so that she can go. So yeah, I mean maybe these epics could be useful for you. Um, as an alternative to give her some extra turns, so allowing you to still use your Abyssodon focus in another team. But yeah, it's viable, but really you still need the enablement of Panda, and you need the enablement of Popper to probably protect and make sure she survives, and to be able to go to get to her turn. So in that sense, it's not practical because those heroes are better synergized with other ones. So I think we'll leave it at that for the PvP analysis. Is she going to be viable in PvP? At least in the short term, no. But however, we start introducing more heroes that can enable her to maybe go first and take a double turn. Especially if they make it unique in hidden waves or something. Do something interesting there. She could become viable. But right now we already see a good mix of heroes. Really, you're seeing very consistent, similar comps. In Advanced Arena, I think in the championship is only where it's interesting, where we're still waiting for that fifth solid meta composition for the fifth team. Even the fourth team is starting to come together a little bit to be very consistent. So yeah, um, I think that's all we'll talk about today. It's already been a very long video, so thank you very much for all those that have stuck around. And we'll catch you next time in another video. Gandalf out.